Hello everyone, welcome back to Crafts by the Bow. Today I'm using one of the new stamp sets from the annual catalogue that will be live on the 3rd of June. As demonstrators we were able to order just a few things early, and this is one of the sets I got. When I first saw it I thought, no, that's not on my wish list, I'm not getting that one. But actually when I saw the paper that went with it, I really fell in love with it, and I think it's really going to be one of those sets that I use a lot. Now this is the paper. It's called Forever Greenery, and it is all green papers. Now this piece is what I'm using today, and I love these like watercolour brush strokes on the back. And let me show you quickly the others. So they're all different kinds of greens, and this is one of the new greens as well, the Just Jade green that's coming out with the in colour inks, and I think I'm going to have such fun with this. There are two little embossing folders as well that go with the set, and one of the embossing folders gives you this pattern, and it almost looks like a piece of knitting. But I'm really liking this. This one I've seen a couple of cards made with, and it wasn't my go-to in the pack, but it almost looks like Australian Aborigine kind of art. So it really does look pretty. So this is my choice for today from my pre-order. The stamps are all leaves and things that you can, have a whale of a time with. You don't need to put flowers with them. My card today, I'm only using leaves. And then these are the dies that go with them as well. I'm using a couple of the dies today. One of the things I really like that Stampin' Up have been doing for a while is giving you multiples of some of the dies, so that you don't have to just cut them one at a time, and it makes life so much quicker. So let me show you what I'm making. It's one of the simple flap cards that I make, or simple fold cards, and usually I put it this way around so that when you open it, it's a portrait size. But today I'm going to use it so that it's landscape, and it looks just totally different. So this is the card, and I promise you it's really easy. I started off with just a piece of thick Whisper White, cut in half and then scored down the middle to make a normal size card. And we would just normally fold that over and it would be a full card. But what I did was I just chopped 1.5 inches off the edge. And I'm keeping this piece because I might want to use it for doing sentiment stamping later on, little images that I want to stamp, so I'm keeping this piece. And then I'm left with this. So this will become our top flap. If it was this way, it would be our left-hand side flap, but it's going to be my top flap. And I've cut some of that beautiful paper that I showed you. What I did find when I made this, I used my square dies, and what I found was a little bit tricky to line up was these lines are not straight, so you can get a bit of an optical illusion where it looks like your paper isn't straight. So with the card I'm going to make next, I'm not putting this square on. But here are the two pieces that I've cut. If you go onto my blog, you'll see the exact sizings that I cut for this. But all it was 1/4 inch smaller than the flap here. And I'm just going to pop that on there, make sure it's got a nice little border, and that it's well stuck down. And then the same with this. If you were doing the portrait size, just make sure that you turn your paper so that when it's not on, it doesn't run the wrong way. I think I'm going to sort of replicate this kind of a brushstroke pattern, just with maybe an aqua painter and inks. because I do quite like the effect that it gives. Okay, so there's our main card already finished. Now I'm going to make this little decoration. And what I did was I used those dies. I used this die, the little ones, this sort of oval, not quite sure what kind of a leaf it is, and this little piece here. And what I was doing was cutting the pieces one by one. And you can see that this piece that I cut in the pretty peacock, it didn't have a lot of the embossing on. I needed to put a shim into my big shot to cut it with. So what I did was I just put an extra piece of card with it. I put this on my big shot, then the die cut, and then I popped a piece of card to use as a shim over the top, run it through my big shot, and you see how you get that debossing, where you can see the lines, but the first one, you can't really see them. So just make sure you've got enough sort of card or an extra shim or something in your machine before you run it through. And what I did find after I'd done that, I turned the paper over and look, you get this beautiful image on the card. And I thought next time I do that, I'll actually line this up and maybe have it in the corner here. And then that could go inside my card and could just give you that extra touch as well. So that's an extra little thing that it will do that I never even thought of. Okay, so I've found this piece. I cut some of the, you see it gives you that same little debossing and embossing. Some of these in the soft sea foam. I cut some of the little tiny ones in old olive. And what else did I cut? Oh, the gold ones. And I just used a little scrap of gold for that. And I also did these and the edging of my sentiment. And this one I used my circle punches. I used a 1 3/4 circle punch, and then I used the starburst, but both of those have retired. So I looked in my box and used the stitched circles and the layering circles. And in the end, I was going to use stitched circle, but in the end, I just found two that I liked how they nestled together. I liked the gap between them. And so all I did was I stamped in my tuxedo black. I took that sentiment that says, "To a friend that makes me smile." I thought that was quite nice. You could use it for birthdays, hello, anything. I just stamped that. And then I went through the dies until I found one that I thought matched it nicely. So you just use whichever one you want. You could cut it out in squares or even the nested labels if you wanted a different shape. So I just found that, and then I went through the rest of the dies to find the scalloped one that I thought went well with it and just cut those out. So then I've got little spare ones as well. I did cut one extra white circle, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with that. It's just the same as this. And when I make these kind of cards and I have sort of lots of little embellishments and things, you can't tell from the card, but I actually don't attach them to the card, and I don't attach them to this layering piece either. I find it easier to design and to put them on the circle. So I'm going to show you how I do that. I've got my main card ready, and I'm going to put this, just a little bit of glue, and stick it on there. Okay, so I've got that as my base. And then rather than trying to move pieces around and glue them onto the card, I've found lately that if I use these little circles, it makes it just so much easier. Then I want to put a little bit of this gold on. I've got no sort of pattern in mind, no rhyme or reason, and just putting them on. And then once you do that, you think, oh, well, how much of that will the sentiment cover over? So because I've got this, I can just keep going and think, do I want this to go over the flap? Do I want it to stay on here? I want mine to go over the flap. So I'm just going to line up the white circle with the bottom of the top flap here. Put that there so that I can sort of see how it's going to come together. Okay, I know I want another little piece of this. So I'm going to glue. And you don't have to be too fancy with gluing it on or anything, because the sentiment's going to be glued over the top. I did find though that if you use a small circle, you end up with everything sort of built up on top of each other and it's a bit bulky. So I tend to use a bigger circle. And if I find that it's too big, I just chop it off. Once everything's glued on, I just chop the bottom piece off, and then it lines up really nicely and it just makes things easier. Okay, I'm going to put another of these little gold pieces over this side, and if you wanted to chop these down, you could do that too. So you just take a piece off if you don't want to stick the whole of it on there. And you want a little bit showing on that one. Whoops, stuck to my thumb. Okay. And no two of these will be the same, because, you know, as you put things on, they'll line up in a different place. So just work out what you like. And let's put a piece of this in. And just put a bit of glue at the bottom of it here. And I want it to, whoops, I want it to sort of stick down here. I want it to overlap so that it goes over the flap, and then when you open it, it's still still there and still looking at you. Okay, and I'm going to put another of these up here. But I don't quite know where yet, so let me just see. Let me put my sentiment back on. Got that little piece there. I might just have a little piece that's going to stick up here. I'm going to take this piece off because it's starting to be bulky on the top. I don't need that. Let's just hold that back down again. Okay, I like that. I'm just going to put a couple of these little pieces in, but I'm not going to put them in yet. I'm going to actually attach this first. I'm going to put some glue on here, on top of the leaves as well, so that it will stick all over. Let's hold that still. You see, it doesn't matter that this circle isn't really centered on the back, because you won't see it. And if you did find that you could see it, what you could always do when you turned it over, you could always put another piece that matches so that you've got this kind of effect and nobody could see the underneath. Or you could put it straight on here so that when your card was open, you just saw a little piece of the gold and then it all matches in. Let's see. I'm just going to line this back up so that I can see just where I want to glue it. So I would like it to overlap just a bit. And then if I turn it over, oh, look, if I put it that low, I am going to see just a little bit. So I'm going to do what we said. I'm going to glue this on. And then I'm going to put that gold piece on the inside. Just make sure that the sentiment's straight. I'm going to put that, I'm going to move it down a bit so you could just see that white piece. And then you can see what I mean. Okay, and then I'm just going to put my glue on. And I'm going to just match up the little pattern of the scallops. There. Okay. Now these little green pieces, I just wanted to put a few in. You know, I've got no nails at the moment because I've been gardening a lot and I broke my nails, and it's really difficult to pick things up. So, and these ones I will just attach with a little blob of glue, or you could use a glue dot if you wanted. I'm just going to thread a few in. See if we can get that in there. There we go. And just thread them in where you want. I'm not putting many in. I think I'll just put these 3 in. There we go. Okay. Now if you wanted some other kind of decoration on as well, you could always put a little piece of ribbon in. Let me just see. Where's my seam binding? Here we go. Got this. Just let's find some scissors as well. You could just take a little piece and you could thread it under here. I'm going to put a glue dot on just to keep it in there. Now let me find where I've hidden my glue dots. Here they are. I'm going to put one underneath and one on the top. I'm just going to lift that up a little bit, poke. Oh, it's sticking to my finger. I'm going to need my pokey tool, I think. Oh, no, we're okay. I'm just going to go in. And then let's just move that around a little bit. And I'm going to cut it so it's just got a little angle. Oh, I don't want to cut. There. So you can add just a little extra. And there we are. So I think I really like the one with the square on, but just because it makes my eyes sort of move a little bit with that watercolour stripe, I think I like this one better at the moment. Which one do you like? Do you like the one with the square or just the one with the circles? Thanks very much for watching me, everybody. If you pop over to my blog, I will have the sizings written down for you for the DSP and what size I cut the card and everything. Thanks again. I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.